The efem glossary from the book Surviving Fourth-Wave Feminism, Chapter 16, points 33 to 66. Number 33. Lying. Something only white men do. 34. An apology. Something all men, everywhere, owe me. 35. Gender. A social construct. 36. Sex. The noun. A genital construct, but even then it doesn't really matter. Just be what you feel at that time. Even if it results in an irreversible mutilation of his genitals for life, a 5-year-old boy who thinks he'd like to be a girl after watching Frozen or The Little Mermaid must have his sex changed permanently. The operation is to be billed to the state under the name of feminism, and it's the child's fault if he grows up and changes his mind later. Hey, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Let the permanently castrated kid deal with it later. 37. Sex. The verb. Something to be used as a tool to manipulate or trap men into getting as much of his money as possible. Women who like sex are healthy, confident, empowered, and liberated. Men who like sex are predators who objectify and rape women. 38. Sexy. A. Something fat women have a right to feel. B. A type of privilege that sexy women need to check. 39. Inadequate. Something that I hope those skinny bitches with hot privilege feel too. 40. Cis-white male. A term regularly used by the efem to label the average guy whose skin is white. It is one of the many efem tools which attempt to further segregate and marginalize groups within the community. 41. Mansplaining. A sexist term used by the efem when she feels overwhelmed by a man speaking to her as an equal. It attempts to make men responsible for women's insecurities throughout any adult conversation, particularly when he is presenting logic, reason, or intelligence. Number 42. Manspreading. A sexist term used by the efem to describe a man who refuses to sit like a thin woman in public. 43. Hate speech. Any type of speech, question, discussion, concept, book, article, or theory that does not align entirely with the fourth-wave feminism narrative. Once labelled as hate speech, violence is justified to stop it, especially if that violence is against any white man by women or soy boys. 44. Privilege. Something that only has ever been afforded to white men. No other human on earth besides white men have privilege. A white homeless disabled man is more privileged than a millionaire woman or any black person. Rich or successful women, girls on scholarships, mothers with everything given to them for free, or positive discrimination campaigns that advance women whilst avoiding any barriers her male equal faces does not imply any privilege. No matter who, when, where, or why, on planet Earth, the only human with any privilege whatsoever is a man. Even the poorest and most destitute of white men are highly privileged because of their genitals and the colour of their skin. Number 45. Safe space. An area, typically on a university campus, that bans access to someone based on their gender. It hides under the cloak of being a room where women are safe from rape or the dangerous male gaze. In reality, it's an area that ensures no logic, analytic thought, or reasoning enters the room by banning those who are willing to discuss both sides. Balanced or right-winged women are also not permitted in safe spaces. 46. Social construct. A term to debunk anything that is logical. For example, gender, attraction, physical ability, balanced arguments, grooming, personal hygiene, mutual respect, intelligent or good men are all viewed as social constructs. The male gaze. A sexist term used by insecure women unhappy that a beta male has looked at them or has been perceived to have looked at them. Only beta males are capable of the male gaze. An alpha male looking at a woman is a compliment. A beta male looking at the same woman in the same way is akin to rape. 48. Right-wing extremists. Anyone who does not submit entirely to the left-wing narrative of fourth-wave feminism. Even if the individual is undecided in their thoughts, they are classed as extremists by the efem because there are only two options: feminism or evil patriarchy. There is absolutely nothing in between. Number 49. Nazi. Someone who does not submit entirely to the fourth-wave feminist movement, and every white man, except the gay or transsexual ones. As for soy boys and cucks, who really cares? Number 50. Racist. Anyone who is white, especially if they are male. It is impossible for any human on planet Earth whose skin color is not white to be racist. 51. Sexist. anyone who is male, especially if they are white. It is impossible for any human on planet Earth who has a vagina or identifies as a woman to be sexist. 52. Xenophobic. Any male Westerner, especially if he's white. Whilst the technical definition means having or showing a dislike or prejudice against people from other countries, Muslims who openly express their hate for the West and subsequently plot to murder Westerners through terrorist acts cannot be xenophobic, because anyone who suggests that would be a racist, even though Islam is not a race. 53. Safe Schools Program. A school program created and pushed by the left that encourages children to engage in sexual acts with each other, especially if they are of the same gender. It's an Australian government endorsed and funded program that teaches our children how to look up porn and hide it from their parents. It teaches girls as young as 9 to practice masturbating with fruit, vegetables, and their electric toothbrushes, as well as learning about S&M well before their first period. It strives to ensure that all boys know they are rapists and guarantees they feel guilt and shame about something they have never done and more than likely will never do. It encourages everyone to think of gender as nothing more than a social construct and rewards young boys to change their gender before they even know what it all really means. 54. Safe Schools Program Purpose. A government-endorsed and fully funded pedophilia program forced into school curriculums nationally for female and left-wing pedophiles to groom children into sexual acts whilst they're being protected by law under the banner of feminism. Number 55. Pedophile. A straight white man who has sexual contact with someone underage. Female teachers raping boys or girls cannot be pedophiles, just as it's impossible for Islamic men playing the rape game, where they actually rape boys, to be classed as pedophiles. Migrants gang raping a child can neither be a rapist nor pedophile because that would be racist. Teachers teaching 9-year-old girls to look up porn, engage in sex parties, talk about their vagina with their teacher, and masturbate with every household item they can find is not a type of pedophilia because it was done so under the banner of a safe schools program dominated by left-wing females and endorsed by Fourth-Wave-Feminism. It is impossible for any human on planet Earth, except for Western men, and mainly the white ones, to be classed as a pedophile. That is because any sexual act with anyone or anything by any person who doesn't consider themselves or identify as a cis white gender male is perfectly natural and empowering, whilst every sexual act by a cis white gender male is rape and degrading. 56. Refugee. Any human who is not a white man may identify as a refugee. However, any white man who questions another human who identifies as a refugee, even if he has overwhelming evidence to do so, is a racist who needs to check his privilege. He then needs to let that refugee into his own country without any security or ID checks, and then pay for that refugee's expenses indefinitely. That refugee may then do whatever he or she likes: work, rob, rape, intimidate, threaten, or murder, and it's all good, as it's impossible for refugees to commit crimes. Sentencing a criminal refugee who has raped and murdered children and women in their new home is a form of racism. Accusing a person who commits violent crimes of being a criminal is racist if that person being accused is a refugee. To promote tolerance, every resident of a given country must abide by the laws of that country, unless they are refugees. Refugees should have more rights afforded to them than the citizens of the country affording those rights. If they don't do so, they are racist and intolerant. This is how fourth-wave feminism works. 57. Scholarships. We need more for women, blacks, Asians, Middle Easterners, gays, lesbians, queers. Actually, let's just say everyone needs scholarships, except for straight white men. They already have way too much privilege to justify any education, even those homeless poor ones. Number 58. Bachelor's degree. A piece of paper that should entitle the holder to a starting wage equivalent to that of a qualified, experienced, and hard-working scientist, engineer, mathematician, or surgeon. Even if the degree is in something with lesser commercial or social value, the holder of a gender studies degree must be paid the same as a man who worked harder for one of those sexist STEM qualifications, but only if the holder identifies as a female or a minority. Except for some of those pretty white girls, they should check their privilege too. Degrees should be free for females, funded with men's tax dollars because of the patriarchy. Women should never pay back student debts they agree to because women are oppressed and were forced to agree to the same financial terms of higher education that the men did. Treating an adult woman in the same way that we treat adult men is sexist. Women need special privileges because they are equal. Irrespective of her attitude, commitment, sacrifice, risk, and/or output, or lack thereof, a female with a bachelor's degree should earn exactly the same as any man on a higher wage in order to close the imaginary wage gap that will prove that women are just as good as men by being paid the same to do less. Number 59. A master's degree. Same as a bachelor's degree, just increase the starting wage by 50% or more, but only for women, but not the white ones, or the pretty ones. Number 60. PhD. Same as a master's degree, just increase the wage by another 200% or more for the women, but again, not the white ones or the pretty ones. 61. Tax. Sexist, but only when women have to pay it. 62. Student debt. Sexist, but only when women have to pay it. 63. Hard work. Sexist, but only when women have to do it. 64. Sacrifice. Sexist, but only when women have to make it. 65. Risk. Sexist, but only when women have to take it. 66. Life. Sexist, but only when women have to deal with it.